Sacco and Felice, New York and New Jersey's premier attorneys at law. Their team brings decades of experience across a wide range of practice areas. Whatever life brings, they're your legal team. From everyday matters to complex cases, they've got you covered with the experience you need and the results you want. Because when life gets complicated, they make it simple. SaccoFelice.com. SACCOFILLAS.com. 2 C's, 2 L's. Listen, all you New Yorkers. UAP, taxi. Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Another side of midnight, and there is the great John Catsimatidis, who owns the Red Apple Audio Networks, who also happens to be a fan and a student of UFOs and UAPs. And we have the prime teacher. We have Matt Gaetz, former U.S. congressman, who was actually informed that the government is conducting human alien hybrid breeding experiments. And you might have some questions about that. Here's the number. You can talk to Matt Gaetz at 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. This is a live radio show, and I look forward to talking with you at 800-848-9222. Fran, is Fran there? Did Fran go? Fran went. All right, coming up, is that Fran? Can we talk to Fran? Hi.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you guys?
Excellent.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for calling. Do you have a question for Matt Gaetz?
Yes, but just first, Mr. Catsimatidis, thank you so much for all you do for us, for New York, for America. The station is incredible. You're incredible. It's a wonderful thing. In my life, in the last year, I've wanted to talk to all three of you or meet you, and here it is, all three of you together.
You can meet all of us if you're buying.
Yeah, you kidding me? I'll buy 3 times.
All right.
But it's just funny. I wake up in the middle of the night. And all three is together. It's incredible.
And I have to thank my daughter, Andrea Catsimatidis, for putting me and Matt Gaetz together.
Yes, and I just like to say, too, I didn't know how many children or if you had children, John, but it just goes to show you what a great parent you are, that they're never in the news for the wrong reasons. You're a wonderful guy, and I love everything about the radio station. Thank you for everything you do. My question is this. I'm sitting here, and I like I said, I like all threes. I respect all threes, and I believe all threes. But it's hard to believe. You know what I mean? It's amazing that I'm 61 and there could be some kind of alien out, anything. I believe that there is another power out there. Like you said, John, God didn't just put a seed here. I don't think so. You know what I mean? It's an amazing thing. But why? My point would be, why hasn't it come out? Why haven't we seen an alien, a ship? You know what I mean? I know we've seen like UFOs, but why is it in certain areas? And it's just such a fascinating thing. And the government, look at Matt. My question to you would be, look at you. The government is so strong that they blackmailed you, I think. And all of a sudden now you're not in the government. You know what I mean? You're congressman or the attorney general. And what do you say about that? I just think that there's just a higher power. And it's unbelievable. How do you make me a believer? I'm trying.
No. Well, thanks for the kind words. And it is unbelievable. And I'm not entirely sure I believe it, right? I share a briefing I received. The person that gave me that briefing could have been wrong. They could have been lying. They could have thought they've seen something they didn't see. They could have been passing along secondhand information. It was remarkable to me that I was even getting that briefing. Almost unbelievable. And what makes me continue to ask questions from my role now in the media is that they don't seem to want to answer them. Like you say, Fran, well, how come we haven't found more stuff? Like, what if we have? What if we have found more stuff and they won't answer questions about the stuff we have found? And then when you talk about certain areas, I'll share with you a theory that my fellow Congressman Tim Burchett holds, and it's not one I've fully fleshed out definitively, but Burchett believes there are certain areas that get more of this activity because the reason some of these beings are stopping off here is for resource extraction. Why haven't they been hostile to us? If they've been here just for conquest of us, Why haven't they started wars or killed a bunch of people? Burchett believes this is a stop-off on a journey, and that in certain places, particularly where there's a great deal of water or other resources they need, you get a high concentration of activity, and then they're on their way.
Congressman Matt Gaetz on another side of midnight, answering questions about UFOs, UAPs, and secret briefings that he was given when he was in Congress. The fact that you and another congressman talked about why are the aliens here tells me that the aliens are here. Silas, welcome to another side of midnight with John Catsimatidis, Walter Sterling, and Congressman Matt Gaetz. Hi, Silas.
Yeah, I wanted to float another theory. And maybe the creator or whatever force created things, maybe it did drop one seed in this galaxy, which would be mankind, to find out if we were able to grow, if we were able to finally smarten up and work together. We just like a seed in the ground can grow to a large acorn. A seed on planet Earth could grow and start to populate the galaxy. Maybe we're the only ones right now. And the sooner we smarten up and work together, the sooner we'll travel into outer space. And I also believe that maybe the UFO thing could just be something that they're keeping up to keep making money. Like, the government obviously has made up a lot of lies to us so they could keep funding something that could be phony. They could say, well, we found vampires, and we want to keep funding this program for people who want to become billionaires, but they don't want to do the work, like Catsimatidis. So this is just a vehicle for them to keep funding stuff.
Silas, thank you very much for the call. Congressman Gatt, did you ever get the feeling that there were a number of propaganda lines about UFOs and UAPs and perhaps other areas that were being pushed by a variety of sources to just keep money flowing to them? Do you ever suspect that?
We're the only ones right now.
Silas, thank you very much.
We'll starting up and work together. Thank you.
Congressman Gaetz, what do you think about that? That a lot of these stories were floated to keep funding various projects.
I think that we would see more of that at a higher level. Again, I'm not aware of a great federal expenditure on this. They may exist, and that may be within some of the black budgets in the Intelligence Committee I didn't see. I did crack a smile at Silas's remarks about sort of this duty of mankind to have this manifest destiny across the galaxy. And it's just similar to how Elon Musk talks, right? That this is like the obligation of mankind to become the multiplanetary species. So I think Silas and Elon may have been drawing from some of the same inspiration.
Nicely put. You and I are on WGN in Chicago. We're proud to be on WGN in Chicago. Ken in Brooklyn, welcome to another side of midnight with John Catsimatidis, Walter Sterling, and Congressman Matt Gaetz. Hi.
Hi. I just wanted to ask the subject of religion was brought up by John Catsimatidis. I just wanted to know how much has been, as far as things in the Bible about resurrection, and I just wanted to know about that, and also how's that connected to the UFO controversy, and also what if they have done hybridization? Is the second question. Is how many people that have been hybridized are in our government? Those are my two questions.
So you're talking about the lizard people running our government? Is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about actual hybrids that actually look like humans that are in Congress and in our government.
Ken, thank you very much for the call. Thank you very much for the call, Ken. I appreciate it. 800-848-9222. I don't think any of us are qualified to determine how many alien hybrids are currently in Congress, but I'm sure there are many theories about that. John Catsimatidis and Congressman Matt Gaetz are on another side of midnight answering questions about an amazing conversation that Matt Gaetz had when he was still in Congress. Grown-ups came to... Go ahead, Matt.
This is John Catsimatidis. I wanted to say something. Is that the planet Earth, if you look at it very carefully, is a living entity. It makes corrections to itself. The purpose of hurricanes, the purpose of typhoons, the purpose of is to control the overall temperature of the planet Earth. We've talked about it before. The oil that people used to call fossil fuels is not fossil fuels. The planet Earth makes the oil to create what do you call it? Within the plates of the Earth to create a lubricant factor. That's why in places like Oklahoma, if you frack too much and you take too much oil out of the system, you end up with earthquakes until the planet Earth really readjusts itself. And the other thing I believe in, that the intelligence community, and this goes back a zillion years, and Matt, you're someplace in California now, that in Hollywood, the intelligence community used to feed information to Hollywood just to keep them abreast of, just in case something happened, it wouldn't be a total surprise to all the American citizens. And I believe that Gene Roddenberry, who created Star Trek, if you look back at Star Trek, the amount of information that they were feeding you is coming 60 years later. I think Star Trek is out for 60 years. Some of that stuff is coming to fruition. And I remember looking at some of the Star Trek shows from the early 1990s, and they were using iPads and iPhone-type instruments. I was told that not Gene Roddenberry's father or mother, that somebody older than that and grandfather was in the intelligence community back in those days, which is a long time ago. And the other thing that Congressman Gaetz said is possibly a lot of this money is not funded by the government, so nobody has to make disclosures, and that the people that President Eisenhower possibly put together took some of this knowledge that came from some of those UFOs, because our intelligence, since 1947, we have moved at warp speed on medicine, on technology, et cetera, warp speed. And that they were giving slowly stuff to, like, Bell Labs and Lockheed and other organizations, Grumman, and gave them information. And because of giving the information, a lot of that stuff was funded by private industry. That way, it wasn't disclosable to Congress, et cetera. And I turn it over to Matt, Congressman Gaetz.
Yeah, I would just add, the allegation that was made to me, and to be clear, this was just an allegation about the hybrid program. The purpose was not to reintroduce hybrids into society, to live among us and get elected to public office. The limited purpose was to have the hybrids as a communication vessel to other extraterrestrials. That the belief was the only way to have an effective line of communication was through this program. So I found that to be interesting, but again unconfirmed. There's been a lot of literature about how that warp speed that John just referenced, benefited from stuff that the U.S. government gave these defense contractors. And if they were giving satellite access, if they were giving internet code, if they were giving all this other stuff, of course, if there was craft recovery, and I do believe there's been craft recovery based on the sworn testimony we've received that's been unrefuted, that probably made it into the same information stream back to those defense contractors.
I have one more question.
Go ahead.
Did you the two-star general that's missing? Did you ever met him at all? For all of our guests that don't know,
I did not know General McCaslin. However, I have known multiple other people who had the same, which is running the Air Force Research Lab. Most of the people who have run the Air Force Research Lab, have at one point or another made their way through Eglin Air Force Base, which is in my old district in North Florida. So, I know a number of people who've been in that talent pipeline. I did not know General McCaslin. I think it's crazy, by the way, Walter and John, that you don't have the FBI out there affirming that they are looking into the work-related connections of these people who had access to the UAP program and who have disappeared with, in some cases, with very little trace of evidence.
Major General McCaslin's wife, when she called 911, and this was just released a couple days ago, her 911 call was just released, she explained that her husband was very methodical and would not have left without the wallet, would not have left without the watch, unless he wanted to not be found. Those were her words. She knew her husband. She said the only way he would leave without that phone and without that watch is he made a decision to not be found. And I think the reason, and I think John's question is exactly right, I think the reason that the FBI is not looking is they don't need to. They know exactly what happened. Karen, you're on Another Side of Midnight with Matt Gaetz and John Catsimatidis. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to speak with all of you. In Genesis 6, we have a group of angels that came down on Mount Hermon. They defected from, they were supposed to, their abode was actually in the heavenlies, and they disobeyed God, and they came down here and took on human form. Now, you read in Genesis 6 that they took wives for themselves. They were human women, and they mated with them, and they created giants. These were hybrids. These were angelic and human hybrids, and they were very violent on the earth.
Well,
and
Karen, with respect, and happy Easter. There's nothing there that we can confirm or review. We just don't have the evidence in front of us. Thank you very much for calling Another Side of Midnight at 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. Norman, you're on Another Side of Midnight. Hi.
Good morning, Walter. Good morning, Mr. Catsimatidis, and good morning, Congressman Gaetz. I don't believe any of this. I think, look, I'm extremely skeptical. I believe what I can see, what I can hear, and what I can smell. As far as this goes, it is an allegation to Congressman Gaetz. This is not, apparently, this is nothing he absolutely saw with his eyes. And, when I see the aliens in front of me, then I will say, yes, there are aliens. Until then, this is all just theory.
Go to the Washington Post in July 1952 and tell me about the 50 UFOs circling the Capitol, and you go from there, okay?
Thanks very much for the call, Norman. Thank you very much for the call at 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. I would be remiss as a broadcaster, Congressman Gaetz. I'd be remiss if I did not ask you, former candidate for Attorney General of the United States, your personal reflection, thought, opinion, freedom of speech opinion about what happened to Attorney General Bondi this week.
I think she will go down as one of America's great crime fighters. I think that the cartels will create more safety and opportunity for Americans for a long time. I think that her expansion of executive power has paved the way for a lot of the deportations that were successful. She beat back those nationwide injunctions that were hampering administration. So I think it's a great success. You know, I also think that there'll be a new era with Todd Blanche. I know him well. He's the acting attorney general now, and I think you're going to see a lot of activity in the prosecution of some of the Russia hoax activity and the weaponization against the country.
Hello?
Well, he must have dropped off. We'll get him back on again.
Yeah.
But you asked me the same question. I will say to you, one of the items that I was concerned about with Kristi Noem, and I've known her, and again, my daughter knowed her, and the fact is, when I met with the president before the election of November 2024, I said to him that 80% of the people want to get rid of all the killers, the major criminals, the drug dealers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think the American people have a heart. We didn't want to necessarily go after the nannies, the waiters, the busboys, and the cab drivers, et cetera, et cetera. You know, we could deal with that later. But the major item was, let's get rid of the major criminals that were endangering the United States citizens. And I think that's one of the items. I can't speak for the president, but I've had discussions. But I think that was one of the major items that, and Tom Homan, who got the major portion of the job to take care of things in Minnesota, I believe that's his beliefs too.
And Katz, in your opinion, what do you think was the linchpin that ended Bondi's time here?
The key item?
Yes.
She lied.
She what?
She lied.
What was the lie?
I know the story. I know it firsthand.
Please tell. Can you tell the story?
Senator John Kennedy and talked to the president and says, "You want me to ask you that question?" And during the Senate hearings, Senator John Kennedy went and asked her the question. You spent $220 million promote yourself riding a horse and being a hero. Did the president know that you were spending that $220 million? And she said, yes, he knew. And that was 100% lie. And that really, I'm allowed to say on the air, pissed off the president.
Yeah, you can say that. That's a good thing to say.
That pissed off the president.
Then he had no choice. When you're dealing with that kind of money and those kind of positions, it didn't even matter what the lie was about.
$220 million of her riding a horse and getting rid of the nannies and the busboys and the waiters.
In that position,
I gave you my 2 cents.
No, I believe you. In that position, anybody who throws away that kind of money did not have permission to have that kind of money. It didn't even matter what it was for. It's a dynamic between you and your boss, and she lied. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
John Catsimatidis, it is an honor to have you on Another Side of Midnight to upgrade the broadcast in a way that that few can. I totally enjoy having you on the show. And it'd be very easy for me to say that to, Kiss, but it's just a radio fact. You're just a treat.
Well, I'm glad Congressman Matt Gaetz had come on. I guess he got knocked off someplace. I'm sure he'll be on again with us. And he's a very smart guy and cares about America.
Congressman Matt Gaetz, great guest on Another Side of Midnight. John Catsimatidis, terrific. Always a pleasure to have you here, sir.
This is Roger Stone for American Sovereign Bullion. Since 2020, the U.S. dollar has lost over 20% of its purchasing power. Meanwhile, gold continues to rise. Call 844-272-2428 or go to asbgold.com now to get your free gold and silver guide and learn how to protect your wealth with physical gold and silver delivered to your door or held in a gold IRA today. So go to asbgold.com now. Don't wait for the markets to drop. That's asbgold.com.